Checklist time. Let's see. Notes, check. Sunglasses, check. Hat, check. Pepsi, check. Oh, wait, what? Okay, that's better. Check. And finally, thick skin, check. Let's go. Golden Blue Dude back with another video just for the college football fan. So hit that like and subscribe button if you are a college football fan. And go check out our Patreon page when you get a chance. A lot of perks over there. And don't forget our score prediction contest will start back up again in September. Every week we award $20 to whoever gets the closest to the exact score prediction of the game that I pick. The higher the Patreon, the more guesses you get. And you can win as many times as you want. Also, $5 and up Patreons get to pick the live stream that we're going to do. And you get to watch the game with me. And we have a great website designed and created by Joey Foster. There's nothing like having high expectations and then dropping the ball early in the season. Today, I'm going to look at the top 25 teams according to the ESPN Way Too Early Top 25. Most of these teams have high expectations, but they have potential pitfalls early in their schedule for 2022. Some of these teams might be in trouble before they even get started. So here's ESPN's Way Too Early Top 25 as of right now. You have 1 Alabama, 2 Ohio State, 3 Georgia, 4 USC, 5 Texas A&M, 6 Utah, 7 Notre Dame, 8 NC State, 9 Michigan State, 10 Michigan, 11 Oklahoma State, 12 Clemson, 13 Houston, 14 Oklahoma, 15 Pitt, 16 Oregon, 17 Wake Forest, 18 Baylor, 19 BYU, 20 Arkansas, 21 Ole Miss, 22 Kentucky, 23 Cincinnati, 24 Tennessee, and 25 Iowa. So out of those 25 teams, I think there's only 4 teams that really don't have anything to worry about in September. The first team, number 1, Alabama. And this is including the road trip to Texas on September 10th. I don't think they have any issues there. Number 10, Michigan. I don't see any issues with their schedule in September. Number 11, Oklahoma State. And finally, number 21, Ole Miss. So here are the teams that I think could have some pitfalls early in their season. We'll start from the bottom and work our way up. First off, number 25, Iowa. They get their rival Iowa State at home September 10th. It doesn't matter where this game is played. Iowa State is a toss-up game. Iowa could very well lose this game. Next up, number 24, Tennessee. On September 10th, they do go on the road to Pitt. That's a tough road trip, but I do think Pitt will be down and Tennessee will be up. I think they can win that game, but it is losable. Next up, number 23, Cincinnati. First game at Arkansas. Very losable game. This could put Cincinnati down the path on a rough season this year, a letdown season. Still get to a bowl, but maybe not even the best group of 5 team this year. Next up, number 22, Kentucky. They have a tricky road trip to Florida September 10th. Look, I think Florida will be better, and Kentucky has had issues with Florida historically. Florida could beat Kentucky in that game. Next up, number 20, Arkansas. Good gosh. 3 tough games in September for Arkansas. 2 of them are at home. The first game against Cincinnati, then they get South Carolina September 10th, then they go to Arlington, Texas to play Texas A&M September 24th. Arkansas could easily go 3-0 in that situation, but they could also go 0-3 and anywhere in between. Tough start for Arkansas. Next up, number 19, BYU. They do get Baylor at home September 10th, but then they have to go on the road to Oregon September 17th. That's a tough start for BYU. Honestly, I think they'll split those 2 games, win one, lose one. But they could lose both or win both. Number 18, Baylor. Speaking of the team that BYU plays, they have at BYU September 10th and then at Iowa State September 24th. That's 2 tough road games in the month of September. That could be a rough start for Baylor for 2022. Next is number 17, Wake Forest. Really just 1 tough game, and that's Clemson, but it is at home September 24th. If they can clear that, Wake Forest might be on their way to another historic season. Next up, number 16, Oregon. The first game is basically a road game against Georgia in Atlanta. I don't give Oregon much of a shot to win that. And they get BYU at home September 17th. Then they go on the road to Washington State September 24th. That's a rough start for Oregon. If they can go 2-1 in that stretch, that's a win. Next up, number 15, Pitt. I don't think Pitt will be as good as what they were last year. And they have a tough start to their schedule. They get West Virginia at home in the backyard brawl. But trust me, there will be plenty of West Virginia fans. Then the next week, September 10th, they get Tennessee at home. Then after that, they go on the road to Western Michigan September 17th. Remember, Western Michigan beat them last year. Could Pitt start the season 0-3? I hope so. Next up, number 14, Oklahoma. Tough road trip to Nebraska September 17th. Then the next week, they get Kansas State at home September 24th. That is a home game, but Kansas State has beaten Oklahoma in Norman recently. Could Oklahoma lose both of those games? It's very possible. Next up, number 13, Houston. My gosh, I don't think I've ever seen a team start off the season with 2 road trips. I'm talking about at UTSA, who's a pretty good group of 5 team, and then on the road to Texas Tech, who I don't think will be very good, but it's always tough to beat Texas Tech in Lubbock. On top of that, Houston has 6 road trips this year. I do think Houston will be the best group of 5 team, but my gosh, their schedule did not help them out at all. Next is number 12, Clemson. Really, their only test in September is at Wake Forest. If they clear that, Clemson could be a playoff team. Next up is number 9, Michigan State. They have a tough road trip to Washington September 17th. Remember, Washington now has Michael Penix Jr., the transfer from Indiana, so they have an actual competent quarterback. I do think Michigan State could lose that game against Washington. Next up, number 8, NC State. I would say a possible letdown game at East Carolina in the first game. NC State is clearly the better team, but East Carolina is getting better, and that's a tough road trip. If NC State loses that game, you talk about a disappointed fan base, and a lot of questions will start popping up in Raleigh, North Carolina. Next up, number 7, Notre Dame. First game at Ohio State. That's the toughest way to start a season right there. And yes, I think that's a loss for Notre Dame. But on top of that, on September 24th, they have to go on the road to North Carolina. Notre Dame could have 2 losses before they even get out of the month of September. Next up, number 6, Utah. Really just 1 game in the month of September, but it's going to be a toughie at Florida. I don't think Florida is that great of a team. I think Utah is the better team, but it's early in the season. On the road, definitely a losable game for Utah. Next is number 5, Texas A&M. They get the Canes of Miami at home September 17th. I still think that's a losable game, but it's the next game that really poses a big possibility that they could lose in the month of September. And I'm talking about Arkansas in Arlington. Last year, Arkansas did beat them in Arlington. Can Texas A&M escape the month of September without a loss? The next team is who ESPN has at number 4, and that's USC. The month of September doesn't look all that bad. I mean, they do have a possible letdown loss at Stanford September 10th. I don't think Stanford will be very good, but they've always been a difficult matchup for USC. And then don't overlook Fresno State at home the next game after that. Next up, number 3, Georgia. They actually do have a tough start to their schedule. They do get Oregon in Atlanta. Losable game, but I think Georgia pulls that out. And then on the road to South Carolina September 17th. I have Georgia on high upset alert for that game. So Georgia might not escape the month of September without a loss. And finally, number 2, Ohio State. I guess it's possible that Ohio State has a letdown game against Notre Dame at home in the first game. I mean, they did it last year against Oregon at home, so it is possible. But Ohio State's going to be an even better team this year, and I do think Notre Dame takes a step back. I think Ohio State gets through the month of September undefeated. So I think the fan bases that need to be on the highest alert as far as possibly having a rough September. Georgia fan base with that Oregon game in Atlanta and then at South Carolina. Notre Dame fans better be hoping that they can at least split between at Ohio State and at North Carolina. Houston fans, y'all's team starts off the season with 2 road trips. Oklahoma at Nebraska, Kansas State. I would be worried. Pitt fans, you definitely need to be worried. West Virginia, Tennessee, and at Western Michigan. Best case scenario, you come out of that with 1 loss. Oregon fans definitely need to worry. They get Georgia in Atlanta, BYU at home, and then at Washington State. Baylor fans definitely need to be worried at BYU and at Iowa State. On the flip side, I think BYU fans should be a little worried getting Baylor and at Oregon. And then finally, Arkansas fans. Cincinnati at home, I think that's a win, but then Texas A&M in Arlington. So there you go, the fan bases that need to worry the most in the month of September as far as teams that are in the way too early top 25 for ESPN. So y'all let me know in the comments section which fan bases you think should be worried the most in the month of September. That's all I got for you for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.